Welcome back to the Barrel Talk Podcast. We are back with another episode. We are officially now into the second round of the playoffs. We're going to be having two separate episodes, one breaking down the Eastern Conference because there's a lot of shit to talk about in the Eastern Conference. We kind of did a smaller Western Conference episode earlier this week with me and Nick, but we're going to kind of talk over some quick points, get into what's next for the Denver Nuggets to start out with, then jump into the Houston Rockets. Can they kind of put back together what it feels like is a broken season for them? Then get into Lakers OKC preview and Spurs Wolves preview in this Western Conference playoffs, more focused episode. But before we get into that, how we doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Ready? These are gonna be some fun matchups.
Stole Sixers got the dub.
Yep.
Exactly.
What's up, Stole?
Yep.
Got a playoff win.
I'm trying to contain my glee here. We'll talk about that in the East one, but that's gonna be got lots to say.
I'm doing good. But we were supposed to get. I was hoping that we had 2 Game 7s today.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping we would at least have one of them kind of like go down to the wire. I was a little underwhelmed with the games today, but I think last night was the Sixers Celtics game. That Game 7, I mean, that delivered. I would have liked for one of the games today to be a little better, but either way, I think the better team won both of the games.
Yeah.
So like that is the only good takeaway for that. I didn't really care if Orlando or Toronto would have upset, I think that would have been cool. But I think I like these matchups now in the second round a little more because of like I like Pistons Cavs more than I would have liked Raptors Magic, bro. Like
Yeah.
To be honest,
Raptors and Orlando have just a little too many injuries going on with Franz being out and then Toronto not having Quickly for the entire series and BI being out. Pistons and the Cavs are going into this series healthy, which I think is better basketball. That's what, because we can kind of get into Denver Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
We did our player predictions. I had the Wolves winning the series.
You did.
And they got it done in 6. So I'll take my win there and I'll take my L. I didn't have Orlando winning the series going into the playoffs, but up 3-1. I'm a big Paolo guy. I was popping my shit. We'll talk about that in the next episode. But we can kind of jump into that Denver collapse because that was one of the more impressive wins I've seen an NBA team have in some time. It's very comparable to me, and I hate to bring up an old wound, Cole, but it was
I know exactly what series you're going to say.
This Wolves win reminds me a lot of when I think it was Miami going up 3-1 on the Bucks, and Jimmy Butler had that crazy game in Miami.
Yeah.
Like, it reminds me of that. Nobody had the performance Jimmy Butler had, but it reminded me of, like, your crazy
Heat.
Yeah. Like, it was just insane. But going into the game, no Io, no DiVincenzo, no Anthony Edwards. And it just everybody kind of in the sports world were saying, like, yeah, it's kind of a cliche thing to say, but the Wolves went out in that game and it looked like they wanted it more.
Mm-hmm.
They were running off the pure, just, we hate this fucking team. We don't care who's out. We're just going to go punch you guys in the mouth and see if you guys can respond. Jaden McDaniels probably had the biggest aura gamble I've ever seen from a professional athlete.
Yeah. To call out the entire team as bad defenders in post-game is crazy work. Just to say, hey, we're going to go after this guy. And then I think he realized, like, I'm just going to say the entire team. Like, that was bold.
He had to play well offensively after saying that for sure.
It was more impressive coming from somebody who's like, I know he had to step up offensively, but he's not known as a scorer. He's not known as a shot creator.
That's not his main role in the team. And even then, he's like, hey, like, even I know, like, these guys can't hold us. And he was right. That was a very fun series as a Team Embiid guy. But I think the Nuggets have a lot of work to do this offseason. They're in a weird spot.
I'm trying to think of their past couple seasons. So they had the year that they were hurt and they lost to Golden State in the first round. Then they go the next year, they win the chip. Everything kind of falls right for them. They play 2 8th seeds somehow in a finals run. And then they get it done. But we're not going to get into like the meaningfulness of and the weight of the ring or whatever. They won the championship in 23.
Right.
And they were the best team too. So it's hard.
And they were still the best team. Like, even if they played Boston, they could have beat Boston. Like, Boston was still unproven at that point. Like, so then the next year they get bounced by the Minnesota Timberwolves in the second round. Then the following year they get bounced by OKC in the second round. And now they get bounced in the first round by a depleted Minnesota Timberwolves team. So they've lost to the same team twice in the past 3 seasons, a team that matches up very well with them. And then they lost to the champion in OKC. So it's kind of tough to gauge like where this like Denver team is. I do think they're far away right now defensively for sure. But then you're looking at their resume. It's like they lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who went to the conference finals for the past 2 seasons. And it's like, and then they lost to OKC, who won the chip and then beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. So it's like, it's tough to gauge because they've only lost to the 2 most competitive teams in the West of the past couple seasons. So it's like it's kind of a weird area for me to gauge. I just want to hear y'all thoughts.
I think
Go ahead, Cole.
They are a contender level team when they're at their best, but that's the problem. Like, especially with the matchup they ran into, it being just a Minnesota team who's just like honestly perfectly made for the playoffs, just kind of has a little something in every area. And my problem with Denver is I'm not going to do the whole Jokic thing. I definitely, when I predicted them to win it all, like in my playoff prediction, I wasn't expecting Jokic to look like that. I know statistically you can say that he was still like pretty good and whatnot, and he had some good moments. But at the end of the day, the thing with Nikola Jokic is you're not used to seeing him even have any bad game. So the game where we said Gobert shut him down in the fourth quarter, that honestly happened multiple times. You're not expecting that for Denver, and you kind of expect a player like Nikola Jokic to cover up all the flaws that they maybe have. That being said, you're missing Aaron Gordon, who is your honestly maybe only defender at that point left in the playoffs that they had, because Christian Braun has regressed defensively. Peyton Watson wasn't playing. You have no Aaron Gordon out there. Even if they have okay defenders, here's the thing about a lot of teams, and a team like Minnesota, I agree that Minnesota has some really good defenders, but them having a guy like Rudy Gobert on the back line allows them to play such more aggressive defense, and the Nuggets just don't have that luxury, because if they get blown by, there is no rim protection on the back end that Jokic is bringing you. But you have to have him on the court, and that's crazy to even talk about this, a guy of Nikola Jokic's level being, I don't know, someone that you kind of don't want on the court defensively in the playoffs. I mean, I know they won a title, but it's came back to bite them in these certain series. That's a problem to me. I'm going to go out and say it as well. Cam Johnson and Michael Porter Jr. trade was absolutely egregious. I don't care about the money. You're in the Nikola Jokic era. You're trying to win a not national championship, but NBA title again while you still have him. If Michael Porter Jr. was still on that team, that gives them a different pop to where their cold streaks on offense don't last as long. Jokic has more room to work, even if he's one-on-one with Gobert. The Cam Johnson pickup doesn't move me, and it reminds me a lot of McCall Bridges, because those boys were over there in Brooklyn looking decent when Brooklyn's just so ass that they got overvalued in the trade market. And look what happened, because MPJ went over to Brooklyn and he averaged fucking 26. So it's not hard to do it over there. Like, I'm just saying, I think that they made some moves. You can argue fire Mike Malone was where it all started. And I even like their coach right now. I can't think of his name right now, Adelman or whatever. He's a good coach, but they're really reminding me of what happened to my Milwaukee Bucks after we won our championship.
You can go ahead, still.
Yeah, so I think that's fair. I will say about the whole MPJ Cam Johnson trade. MPJ was putting up some numbers, empty numbers, but numbers in Brooklyn. But he also missed the last month of the season with an injury. So even like Cam Johnson was at least on the court. And I'm looking at
just hypothetically if he was there, but yeah.
But I'm looking at Michael Porter Jr.'s last playoff run. I mean, he was bad. I mean, he averaged 9 points. He shot 39% from the field, like 34% from three. I mean, there's times where he was legit detrimental. So I understand why they made that trade. That being said, to your point with the money, Christian Braun's extension kicks in next year. He's going to go from making just under $5 million to $21 million next year.
It's going to be one of the worst contracts in basketball.
It's going to be awful. Jamal Murray is going to be $50 million next year. Jokic is going to be $60 million. Aaron Gordon goes from $22 to $33 million. Cam Johnson's making $23 million next year. They are going to be in cap hell next year.
They're historically not a team that likes to pay that luxury tax, because that's a big reason why they moved off MPJ to begin with, because he was making like 36, 37, and they kind of acclimated that with the 21 from Cam Johnson and all the smaller contracts with the adding the role players.
So honestly, call me crazy, I wouldn't be surprised if they at least explore Jamal Murray trade talks, just because no one's taking the Christian Braun contract. No one, absolutely no one. Aaron Gordon, you could argue, is no one's taking that contract either. Jamal Murray, you could get pieces and potentially retool, take a gap year, and come back in the next season, not next, like the following season, and make a run. Because as it looks right now, the framework that the Nuggets have, I'm not sure is a legit contender going forward.
I'm just trying to think of like I'm looking at what the Minnesota Timberwolves were able to do to them on the offensive side of the ball against that defense. I'm looking at Anthony Edwards. Yes, it's Anthony Edwards came into the playoffs limping, had the runner's knee situation that Steph Curry had for the past like month and a half at the back half of the season. So he was dealing with that. And then you lose him, DiVincenzo, and Ayo Dosunmu, who was playing out of his ass this series. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't even want to know what De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper getting downhill every rip and having Wemby on the backside. Like, I don't even want to know what the Spurs offense would have been looking like against this Denver defense with how it's looking right now. In terms of their cap and who they could possibly look to move, I hate to say it because he's probably their most like important player to this currently constructed team, but you would have to kind of reshape the team. Aaron Gordon's been hurt every playoff run. He was hurt last year in the playoffs with the hamstring. He was hurt this year with the hamstring. Like, I understand Jamal Murray is a
defense without
him.
I would have to get a defender back.
Like, I don't think they make any of those trades unless it's an offer that like they can't refuse. I think they're just gonna hold firm. But like, I think they explore it. I seriously think they consider one of Aaron Gordon or Jamal Murray, because I mean, Jokic is only going to be around for so long. And like you said, Aaron Gordon been hurt every playoff run. There are defenders that you could get. I feel like Aaron Gordon is the more tradable asset, but his contract isn't very good either. It's $33 million
and
next year.
He's sneakily older, on the older side now.
Yeah, he's 30 right now, and next year he's making 33. The year after he's making 36, and then in 28, 29, he has a player option for $40 million.
I think if Peyton Watson was playing, they could have looked a lot better. Though.
Yeah, Peyton Watson should.
I know that sounds crazy because that's just one guy, but he was like their best point of attack defender outside of Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon even is more of like a connector team defender. Peyton Watson also was like really good offensive this year. Like that was sneakily a big piece they were missing. And I hate to do this too, but if a couple games go differently in the regular season, they get matched up with Houston in the first round, they probably win that series and are just a second round exit again, and people aren't talking about trading their main core. I know that's a bad way to look at it, but
no, I see.
To kind of battle that point, they didn't get a bad draw because they chose this.
Right, that's true.
By beating the Spurs. In that last game, they chose to beat the San Antonio Spurs and have Nikola Jokic play in that game.
Mm-hmm.
To avoid OKC on the set.
Avoid OKC. They were looking ahead thinking we can just take care of Minnesota. But I always thought, why would you want to play out of all the teams, Houston, Phoenix, Minnesota, Portland, why the fuck would you want to play Minnesota?
Yeah, that's the last team you should want to play.
That's the last team you should want to after they just now it's been past 3 years you've made it into the playoffs. Minnesota's taking you out. And they're meant to beat they're the team that's built to beat you. So I'm thinking here looking at like what their season could look like. I could easily see a world where they run it back with Peyton Watson if they're able to bring him back. I don't know how much cap room they're going to have to work with because he is a free agent. Yeah, so he is a free agent.
He's a Milwaukee Buck.
Everyone's a Milwaukee Buck.
I just like Peyton Watson.
I think there might be, and this maybe is a segue here, there might be something with the Rockets and the Nuggets. I know they're conference rivals and they won't want to trade. But I think maybe there's some juice there for like a Jamal Murray and Jabari Smith like trade or something, or an Aaron Gordon, Tari Eason, and other guys trade. Like I think that might be something worth exploring in like an off season. Like I don't know, we do like those mock trade the pods in the off season. Like I feel like there might be some juice there because the Rockets clearly lacked like offensive creation, and especially with KD being out, and Jamal Murray is clearly one of the best shot creators, especially in the playoffs in the league. But Yeah, I don't know. I think
Jamal for a man. Who says no?
probably the Rockets.
Houston. Houston says no, unfortunately. I think Amen Thompson,
I think they should say yes to that 100%.
I think if Houston
You're
I
saying
would
yes?
trade Amen for Jamal Murray right now. We'll have Kevin Durant.
we can pivot into Houston. My last point
Oh, yeah.
on Denver is like I believe that they're kind of gonna run this team back, but my whole thing is like, yes, their defense is a big part because Jamal Murray is not a good defender. Jokic is not a good backline defender. I'm glad you brought up the point about Rudy Gobert because I think that's an underrated part about how great not only he is as a defender, but how he allows everybody else to be so much more aggressive defensively on the perimeter because they know he's backside. They don't have that. I would like to see them possibly entertain like something that Houston has done in the past couple of years with somebody like Steven Adams. Go just get like somebody that is a true shot blocker. I hate bound. I'm not trying to hate on
with
Valanciunas.
JV. They tried. They thought they had one, but he was ass. He was unplayable.
Yeah, but like looking at Jonas Valanciunas right now, he's like too offensive compared to Jokic. Like he's just so much more on the offensive side of the ball. He's not a true rim protector. And when I'm looking at what Houston does with Steven Adams before he got hurt, Steven Adams, great screen setter, just kind of fills his role out there on the court, and he's a great rim protector and offensive rebounder. That's what Denver misses at certain stretches in the game, especially if you don't have Nikola Jokic in the game. I mean, you're already struggling offensively. My main problem with them is like they don't have a single person on their roster that can create any open look outside of if you're reliant on Jokic and Murray for legit every single thing and action you do offensively to get anybody else open, you're going to run into a team that is going to be able to stop you. And I feel like that's kind of the thing that we have noticed in the past couple of years with these high usage players like Jokic, Harden, Luka Doncic, is like when you are reliant on this one or two guys to create every single look for you offensively, and you don't have a single person that can come off the bench and create even a little bit. And that's what this Denver team is. I get worried about you because when I look at Minnesota, Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle are their 1-2. But then I'm looking at they have a good veteran point guard in Mike Conley who can get guys into open spots. They traded for Ayo Dosunmu, which was a great trade deadline acquisition. He's somebody else who can create off the dribble and do a lot of things offensively for you. You have Dante DiVincenzo, who's a sniper who can have the ball in his hands. They don't even have guys that can have the ball in their hands and run the point for a stretch or two. So Jamal Murray can get a rest. Or Jokic can get a rest.
Where the fuck is Strawler? What happened to him?
He's the bench. Like he's not even playing in the rotation consistently.
I know.
So it's like they haven't hit on draft picks, and their roster's sneakily gotten older and kind of aged without like underneath them. And they haven't been healthy in the playoffs for the most part. At least some of their key guys outside of Jokic. So it's like me looking at this team. It's like, what are you going to do? Run it back and just bring back Peyton Watson and get like maybe another role player or two that can maybe defend? Like, is that going to really push you past like OKC, the Wolves next year, the Spurs? Probably not. Like, you're probably going to have to take a swing and trade one of Murray or Aaron Gordon. Or if you try to somehow get off the Cam Johnson contract, like I'm not gonna say it's terrible because Cam Johnson is a shooter in this league, but like, who do you even go get? Like realistically,
his deal's not so bad. I think what's really gonna hamstring them is that Christian Braun deal. That one is gonna be a real problem. 5 years, $125 million. That is.
He's got to play better.
Yeah,
he just has to. You just have to hope he turns it
there's
around.
no moving back. Yeah. That one's gonna be.
I mean, he's been good before. He had a bad year. Like he got paid for a reason. I'm not saying he was worth that money anyways. You gotta hope he locks back in and becomes a great defender.
Yeah. I agree. They're a team that low key. I'm interested to see what Boston does because there's a team that like could be in like a Derek White realm. Depending on what direction Boston wants to go this offseason. I mean, because Derek White's sneakily on the older side too. But like every team would want a Derek White, obviously. Yeah. But it depends on what role and route Boston wants to go in. I'm interested to see like, and we'll go more to it in the offseason before we pivot to Houston, of like what exactly Denver their path is for them this offseason.
They got a lot of moves to make, or they just run it back and go for the best. We'll see. But yeah, Houston.
Hope they don't run into Minnesota.
Yeah, I think Houston.
I don't drive Bennett starts.
That wouldn't be bad.
Denver. I would hate
Denver could use them too, but I think
Houston backup point guard.
Yeah,
big minutes.
Houston's not in as bad of a spot.
If there's the last thing on Denver, why he brought up the draft. The
Houston's
last thing on
Denver.
Spot than Denver. Oh, Houston's in a way worse spot. But Another
Denver
guy
has
sneakily,
Jokic still.
Jane Quatance could be like a sneaky, like, if he ended up turning out and he wouldn't fall that late, who knows how the draft, because a lot of guys are staying in school. But, like, we'll get into that in a different episode. But he's another guy that could just, like, if they traded up 5 spots for him, I'd be like, okay. Like, if he pans out, he could be a really good defender. But we can get into Houston, because Houston is definitely in a worse spot.
I don't know if they're in a worse spot, man. I'm looking at their salary.
They are,
cap.
bro. What?
It's not.
Denver still has Jokic. Denver just won a title.
They have,
Houston.
They have one better player. Every other player.
Jamal Murray is way better than Şengün as a number 2.
My mind's open to Houston not being in as bad of a spot as people think.
Yeah,
I just need Sol to convince me.
I agree with that, but Denver's still in a great spot to me.
I mean, we've seen what happens when you surround Jokic with a bunch of bums. They get eliminated by the hospital Timberwolves in round 1. I mean, yeah, the Rockets, they lost to the hospital Lakers, but at the same time, Kevin Durant was out. And when he's out, their whole synergy is just cooked. And they didn't even have Fred VanVleet this whole year. He was expected to be a major contributor, along with Steven Adams, who missed the second half of the year in the playoffs. I mean, you add those 2 guys back into the fold, you get off the Dorian Finney-Smith contract. I mean, that
was terrible. Why would you draft a worse Tari Eason that would play Tari Eason's role, who's already coming off the bench? That was just a terrible contract.
I think Eason's probably gone too. They're like, yes, Jokic is a better player than anyone Houston has on their roster.
But the Nuggets are good. The Rockets suck ass. Like, the Rockets are
they're
ass.
both
problem.
They're both.
But that doesn't. Yes, but if you get
one team
Aaron
can't be
Gordon
good, one team can't be ass.
Jokic just doesn't play
right now.
That bad again, you can go on another run. Like, you have the team to go on a run still. You make one move.
You think Denver's
the Rockets
one
are just
move
actually
away?
shit. Like, we can't act like Minnesota are some bums. Like, yes, they just won the games without Anthony Edwards. They did do that. I'm not gonna bank on Jokic looking that bad anymore. I mean, he's one of the best players in the world. Like, I would put my money on him being absolutely elite in the next time he's next year in the playoffs.
Jokic offensively wasn't an issue for Denver. It was his defense that was a problem.
I agree.
You think his defense is going to magically get better in year 12?
No, but I think that they know exactly what they need to address. And Aaron
Jokic
Gordon
being bad at defense
healthy.
isn't new. This is something that they've had to deal with since
he's
day
won
one.
He's won an NBA title doing that, though.
I will say this is like the worst his defense has looked. I've seen Jokic in the past couple of seasons looked a lot more engaged defensively, but this season alone, I've just noticed so many times where he's just, I wouldn't say just like gas, but like it's just like
his first season with an injury.
Yeah, like
first time he's been injured.
He was hurt, and I was just saying, but like this is the worst I've seen him look defensively. And for Houston, I think I can't use the Fred VanVleet excuse. Fred VanVleet was hurt going into the year. You knew that going into the season. You decided to roll with a rookie basically in reach.
Should have made a move.
He's a great veteran point guard, but he wasn't like Jamal Murray level where he's like going out there scoring 25, 26 a night in a playoff game. Well, like he wasn't like that.
He shot like 30-20 last year. Like he's inefficient as fuck.
But he would have been a steady guy to have with the ball.
It would have helped.
But you still, knowing Fred VanVleet was hurt going into the year, ran with Reed Shepherd, who was basically a rookie this year, and Amen Thompson, who you knew still couldn't shoot the basketball.
Yeah.
And that was your backcourt, and they were switching off playing the one. You did nothing at the trade deadline to add any sort of offensive creation or backup point guard play whatsoever. When you saw Ayo Dosunmu go for basically nothing and Kobe White go for basically nothing, right in front of your eyes, one of them was in your own conference, and you did nothing.
Yeah,
so I can't use the excuse of Fred VanVleet or Steven Adams back half of the year because they still had Clint Capella. What I saw this series against the Lakers was poor fucking coaching by Ime Udoka.
Yep.
And guys that were not ready for the moment. Ime Udoka got outcoached that point blank period by JJ Redick, who's in his second playoff stint, and those lights got way too bright for those young guys. It looked like that for Reed Shepherd. It looked like that for Amen Thompson at times, who's now in his second playoffs, but still can't shoot the basketball outside of 10 fucking feet. So now I'm looking at this team. So I'm looking at Alperen Şengün, who at this point in his career is supposed to be a go-to guy in the playoffs. He's still not because he still can't space the floor. His handle's not tight enough to do a lot of the shit he does offensively. And I'm looking at Kevin Durant, and I hate to say it because me and Nick talked about it already last episode. It's like, I have to note it. Everywhere Kevin Durant has gone post Golden State has gotten worse. The Nets gotten worse. The Suns were one of the most fun young cores in basketball. Got fucking worse after Kevin Durant went to town. The Rockets were the 2 seed last year with Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green, one of the most fun teams to watch in basketball. Kevin Durant gets there, and all of a sudden, a year later, not even a full calendar year later of Game 7 versus the Warriors, we're talking about one of the worst young cores in basketball. I'm sorry, I can't let it go no more. And I love Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant is not this. I don't want to see Kevin Durant in a single conversation as Curry, Bron, none of these greats. He's a great player. He's not those great players.
That's fair.
Because when I look at Kevin Durant is a great offensive scorer. Kevin Durant's not making your team better. Kevin Durant's not changing the world offensively for your team because he's a talented ISO scorer. If he doesn't go to Golden State, Kevin Durant is in the same world. He's a better player. He's in the same world as a Carmelo Anthony. He's just a better player.
No,
Kevin Durant Kevin Durant is so in for himself, it seems like, to where like it's never his fault.
I mean, we saw the Twitter burners, the burner gate, or whatever.
I hate to make this like a Kevin Durant rant thing, but I can't sit here and not blame Kevin Durant when not even a full year ago, the Rockets were the fucking 2 seed in the Western Conference. Had this dynamic, young, talented team. And what did you do? What did they do for Kevin Durant? They traded their leader, somebody who I was high on, Cole, going into the year. They traded their leader, Dylan Brooks, who created the identity for their team. Where did Dylan Brooks go and make Phoenix better?
Yeah.
And then they traded a young, talented scorer who was hurt most of the year. But I saw Jalen Green giving it his all in the play-in, in the playoffs against OKC. So they traded Dylan Brooks, who's a better leader. I'm sorry, yes, he's a better leader than Kevin Durant.
Brooks and Green averaged more than Booker for the Suns this playoffs. Fuck you talking about? I mean, that's what you traded for Kevin Durant's weak ass who's just going to tank your team like he has everywhere he's been.
I just can't gloss over it anymore. Nets situation went awry, not because of him for the most part. Harden got hurt, Kyrie got hurt. They had a bunch of other shit going on. Then he goes to Phoenix. I'm like, okay, him and Book. And I'm like, that didn't work. And it's crazy because now when I'm looking at it, Phoenix, am I like, shit, is Phoenix set up better for the future than the Rockets right now?
They might be.
Like, am I like, well, I'd rather be in Phoenix right now than Houston. I just think Ime Udoka got extremely outcoached.
He did.
And Kevin Durant needs to be more to blame. I'm not doing this Fred VanVleet shit because you knew that going into the year. I'm not doing the Steven Adams shit because Alfred Sengun is supposed to be your franchise player along with Kevin Durant.
I don't want to hear the Steven Adams shit because the Lakers' backup center was Jackson Hayes. Like, get over it. You're fine.
And you still had Clint Capella. It's not like you were running just Sengun and had no depth at the 5 spot.
All right, I just want to. Okay, Steven Adams is a very good player, so let's not. All right.
No, he is, and he has a ton of value. But I'm not gonna say
the Rockets.
Bro, y'all lost to the Lakers without fucking Luka. Like, no, I don't want to.
And AR for.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we're.
I'll take my dub on that series, man, because that shit's crazy.
Right.
You did.
I mean, the Rockets are ass.
Okay, all right. The Rockets are not good right now. I think it will be easier for them to fix their problems than it will for Denver to fix theirs going forward.
I can agree with that because the cap situation makes it a lot harder for Denver. So I can agree with that.
That's what I mean with Denver's situation being worse than the Rockets. But that being said, Corey, you did cook with the why the hell did Houston not go out and get a scoring or a point guard at the deadline? Because, like you said, like 3 like legitimately talented guards went for peanuts. Like they could have picked up a Dea, they could have picked up Kobe White in that offense would have been electric. I truly don't know.
They could have got Anthony Simons.
They could have got Simons. Simons was dumped for Vucevic.
Anybody, I'm just sitting here so confused at like why they did what they did at the deadline, which is nothing. And I'm just sitting here, I'm just like, I just don't understand it. It's just such a bad GM move, especially for like all the tanking teams in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Like with all the amount of talent that all these tanking teams have, like you're telling me you couldn't pair up Dorian Finney-Smith's contract, who's somebody you didn't need because you have Tari Eason on your team, who's already coming off the bench playing that wing role. Like, you're telling me you couldn't have paired his contract up and you have multiple first-round picks, valuable ones, because you have one from the Nets and you have one from the Suns, like, to go elevate your ceiling this year? It's like they went into the season without Fred VanVleet and said, fuck it. all right, Reed Shepard, let's throw you out to the fire, and you don't have no real deal backup because your backup is Amen Thompson. It's not like Kevin Durant is like LeBron and can be your point forward and to kind of be that pseudo point guard for you.
That's not his
at
game.
all. It's not like that. Kevin Durant needs somebody to get him into his spots.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was so confused of like, oh my God, when Phoenix, when they first got Kevin Durant, they had Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton and shit was working.
Yeah.
Then they traded for fucking Bradley Beal for no reason.
I think everyone likes to pretend like a man not progressing isn't a big problem for this Rockets future.
Is this just who he is? Is this just who he is as a player?
Yeah.
I think so.
You have to accept.
He could get smarter and be a better playmaker maybe as he gets older and shit, but I don't think he's ever going to be a shooter or a shot maker.
He won't. I mean, we saw with Ben Simmons.
And he's at his peak athletically right now, so.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
No.
To me, that's not a terrible thing because he is an all-world defender.
But if you're a Rockets fan, it is because you thought he was going to be like he could turn into this like number 2 option offensively, like averaging 25 a night while being that elite defender, being like a mini Giannis almost. Like you know what I mean? Like they were thinking like he was going to take him to the promised land.
And it's crazy to me that it's tough to gauge it this way, and I think it makes it a little bit not so much like scarier for teams of like making a big time like a Giannis trade or like all time like a star player kind of move like without having more shit like how the Spurs went and got Fox for like what they got him for, like different tiers of player. But like, man, when you're looking at their core last year, it's like you can have Amen Thompson when you have a scorer like Jalen Green also on your team to kind of play the backcourt with him to just do a lot more offensively than like a Reed Shepard pairing or a Fred VanVleet pairing. And you have this dog and Dylan Brooks who's helping create this identity for like, it's just like, I think a lot of teams are realizing like some of these stars aren't guaranteeing you shit.
Mm-hmm.
What trade? OKC ain't made a fucking trade. Big time trade.
Well,
they got the best player in the world though.
Yeah, they went and got Hartenstein, and Caruso.
They made one pretty big trade.
They signed Hartenstein, and they got Jared McCain, who's like just a bench piece for him. You don't see OKC out here folding up their first round picks for nobody. Like I don't know. I just think the Kevin Durant shit and the Rockets.
But
I think he is.
Other GMs don't believe they can hit on picks at like Sam Presti, so they're more well. So I almost understand it. Like, why would he trade his first round picks when he's just gonna get the best player available every He always gonna get the best guy in the first.
One last.
I just hate where Houston. You can go ahead. So my last point is like, I think Houston just a short year ago was looking like, oh, they have a comparable young core to like. Not in the realm. They didn't have an SGA, but they have a comparable young core to OKC a year ago when they lost to Golden State. But now it's like, well, fuck. Like, now we're looking at Amen Thompson not progressing. Alfred Sengun can't guard. Reed Shepard's looking shaky in his first kind of full year at the point guard spot. Kevin Durant get traded. Kevin Durant had a player to ask out.
He might be out of Houston. He might. Bro, his ass. He's trying to go to the Lakers or some shit. Like you never know with him.
That's kind of what I was going to say. For them going forward, I feel like
they're going to get Austin Reeves in Houston.
They will explore Kevin Durant trades. No one will want him because he's 37 years old, making $43 million. I will say his contract is front loaded, so it's team friendly ish. But if I'm the Rockets, man, I'm looking at Giannis, and I'm calling up the Bucks every day because Giannis clearly wants out. Like that's the most open secret in the league.
I don't think I want anything Houston has right now,
and I don't think they do either. But
I fucking don't, and I don't think Giannis clearly wants out because if he did, he'd say so.
He wouldn't say so. I mean, he's not.
Everyone else does that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what you mean. So I just think Giannis has had plenty of opportunities to get out.
Yeah, he has.
But
to kind of before we get into our previews, the last thing like to wrap up the Houston talk is like I think that they're going to go into this offseason exploring Alfred Sengun trades to get a better secondary option or better defending 5-man around this team. Yeah. And I think that's the direction they're going to go into this offseason.
I agree. I think because no one's going to bite in the KD stuff. I don't think the Giannis trade happens, but I think if you add enough stuff, maybe Milwaukee would think about it. But I think they trade Sengun before they trade Amen Thompson, just because Sengun is making so much more money, and Amen is still on that rookie deal. And I think there's a world where the Rockets move on from Sengun this offseason. I really do. As crazy as it sounds.
I don't want nothing to do with Sengun.
I'm not saying
tired
to
of
the
seeing
Bucks.
Sengun. I know. I just am thinking because I keep seeing trades where he's like the centerpiece of the deal, and I'm just like, Rockets fans are so weak. NBA fans in general, like everyone knows the Bucks are not going to do a deal where Sengun is the centerpiece, bro. Like, or Amen. I'm off that too. I think I once said I'd do that. Fuck that. If anything, I'm maybe trying to do business with like Orlando. I'm maybe trying to do business. I'm thinking, I'm thinking Boncaro. Like I'm ready to, like, you know.
Now we think about we can pivot into our previews, and we can kind of get into more mock trades like in the offseason and everything else like that. But we do have a series that starts tomorrow night, which is kind of a good time to. There's only one game on tomorrow night. Good time to get into these previews and everything else like that. Wolves and Spurs. The latest reports that I'm seeing is that Anthony Edwards could be back by game 3, game 4-ish in the latest reports. So I'm sitting here looking at this series has another interesting matchup for San Antonio. I know Portland's great defensively, but I don't think Portland, just with Denny, I know they don't have Edwards and DiVincenzo. They're probably going to have Io for tomorrow's game. I think there's just a little bit more variety with Minnesota's offense against the Spurs because it was really like if Scoot wasn't going to be in a game, Shane Sharp was super up and down. Like it was really just like Denny offensive creation for offense. Drew Holiday was super up and down. Like, so I'm thinking like Minnesota's size and switchability could make it super interesting. I think the goal for Minnesota is to obviously split the first 2 games and see what you get when Anthony Edwards comes back. But Victor Wembanyama is obviously a handful, and they're a lot better defensively, the Spurs are, than the Nuggets. So the Minnesota offense could go down in production. So it's like, I still think the series could go a little bit farther than what people think. I don't know the odds or anything else like that, but I think it could still go like 6 or 7 games. I'm just interested to see where the Spurs are in the second round series. Still a super young team. And Minnesota, it's tough because like every series Minnesota has been in, I feel like for the past couple of years, they're never favored. They were never favored against Denver the past 2 times. They were not favored against the Lakers going into the playoffs last year, and I still picked them. They were not favored against OKC. They were not favored against Dallas. Like they've never, I feel like, been the favorite going into a series outside of like the Phoenix one, in my opinion. I feel like they're always the underdog, and I feel like they're going to be the underdog again, but this is like a real battle-tested team. It's where I'm like, they're going up against a young team who kind of got breezed through the first round. So I'm like interested to see like the dynamic of how game 1 goes.
With this era of what Minnesota is, I think that they kind of have the recipe to, and you know, Victor's different. I think Jokic and Victor are 2 unbelievable top players in the world. They have the recipe though to slow down a guy who, and yes, Victor can shoot the 3 better than Jokic, at least at this moment right now. So that exact game plan might not work. They have the recipe to guard a center, an elite level center, I think a little better than any other team. I think what I've seen kill them in this era is we go back to the WCF a couple years ago. Luka Doncic, just a guard that like no matter how good a defense Jim McDaniels or Anthony Edwards can play on him, it doesn't matter. He's going to be able to hit the jumper. He's going to create space. He's going to find the open guy. Or then even back to last year with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I just feel like it's that type of archetype that kills them more. So I think that until I see differently from them in the playoffs, and I know Anthony Edwards is going to be out, I'm done betting against them, at least in the sense of me just thinking that they're easy out. I still have San Antonio in 7, and I'm not trying to cop out and say that, I see the way that Minnesota can get it done, even though I do. I think the reason for San Antonio isn't even going to be because of Victor Wembanyama, obviously, based on how I'm looking at this. I think a guy like Devin Vassell can be really big in this series. I think a guy like Dylan Harper, what I've seen from him, could be really big in this series. Just because the thing about Dylan Harper is like, and this is what Denver didn't have. They didn't even have ball handlers really in general. Dylan Harper is like a big body type of guard. Like he has size. He can slash and get downhill. And I don't know if Minnesota is going to have the secondary defenders to guard guys like him or Vassell. I mean, because I'm guessing McDaniels will probably be on Fox, and then, you know, the big boys will handle Wemby. So
I think you probably put Dasumu on Fox to start at
you think
least.
McDaniels on Vassell,
I
Castle.
when I'm going into this series, I think Minnesota and I think Chris Finch does a really good job of like scheming on how they guarded Denver specifically in certain actions. I think we're gonna see a lot of what we saw in this previous game of Nas, Randall, Gobert, which gave them a lot of problems. And I think here's what I would do. Me personally, I would go into this series late game if we're close. I would go Io, McDaniels, Nas, Randall, Gobert. And I'd go this ultra big lineup, and I'd have McDaniels on Wemby, and then I'd have everybody just shading. That's what I would do, because I think on the perimeter, he's a better matchup for Wemby with not so much his size, obviously, but he's faster than Gobert. And I think you could switch everything on the perimeter with Nas and Randall because they have size. And you have still Rudy has your backline. Obviously, easier said than done with switching and
6'10".
matchups.
You're right.
So like I would not be surprised if we see a lot of jumbo big time lineups from Minnesota in this series.
Yeah, I really don't hate that, truthfully. And it's gonna rely on, like, Cole, you nailed it. It's not gonna be just Wemby. It's gonna be Fox and Castle and Vassell and Harper. And I think those guys are gonna be X factor. And if they can hit their shots, which I'm looking here, Fox shot 55% or 53% on mid range this year. I think that mid range jumper for him is gonna be so important because Rudy Gobert, I don't think he's going to be one-on-one with Wemby. I think they're going to move Wemby around enough to where it'll be guys like Randall and McDaniels on Wemby on the perimeter so Gobert can protect the rim, which is what he's elite at. So I think Fox isn't going to have those easy lane drives that he loves. So I think it's going to be him on his jumper. I think it's going to be Harper hitting his threes and Vassell.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I think Fox has a really good chance to get off in this game, with kind of like what Cole said with Luka and Kyrie in that series in SGA.
He don't got that though.
He don't got that, but I think he's somebody that with no DiVincenzo to throw on him, like I think he could be a guy that can get off and have a game or two in the series.
I mean, like I said, this season 53% on mid-range jumpers, and that's a pretty good clip. I mean, yeah, he's not like the best 3-point shooter in the league. I think this year he was 34%. So I mean, not
streaky.
Yeah, not elite by any standards, but like, yeah, he's streaking. If he gets hot, he's gonna stay hot.
He's not afraid to shoot him.
No, he's not. In San Antonio, they have a plethora of guards. I think Harper has really been like so solid for them, especially as a rookie. Obviously, Vassell is a very good shooter. What's the other forward that they have?
Champagny.
Julian Champagny.
Yes, the Sixer. Yeah, he lights out from three. So I think I'm going Spurs in 6, just because I think when Ant comes back, it'll be 3-1. And then I think if he comes back game 4, I think he wins them a game just because that's such a big adjustment. You add a player like Ant, you're not prepared for that. I think San Antonio gets punched in the mouth, and then game 6 they win. But the Timberwolves, they can give the Spurs a real scare. I really do. I wouldn't be shocked if the Wolves end up pulling this out. I really wouldn't. But right now I'm going Spurs in 6.
So you guys are both going the Spurs. I'm gonna stick with my guns. I was on them before the playoffs. I'm gonna stick with the Wolves, even with the injuries. Anthony Edwards. Yeah, you gotta get one of these first two. Portland did that. Portland was able to get one in San Antonio. So
when Wemby went out.
So like they were able to make something happen, and they were able to get one. But like I'm just gonna stick with the Wolves. And being back in games 3 or 4 really does help my take there. I really do believe if he's able to come back in a home game, they can get both at home, even if they don't get one in San Antonio. I think it could go back to San Antonio in game 5 at 2-2. Because that Minnesota crowd, we saw it in that game 6. With how they're playing this playoff run, they're kind of on this, like, not Cinderella run, but they're the underdog now with the injuries. Like, they're playing with a different kind of fire. And I think the kind of jumbo lineups that they can produce can possibly give the Spurs a little bit of matchup problems, and having a smaller on Julius Randle, having a small on Nas Reed, guys that once operate in that mid post, I think they have the advantage there, and having Jay McDaniels being able to shade defensively on Wemby, I think is a big thing. But they're definitely going to need some big time games from guys like Terrence Shannon Jr. and Ayo Dosunmu. But I'm going to go the Wolves in 6 or 7, whenever Anthony Edwards does come back. That's just kind of my take on it. I'm going to stick with the Wolves. And because I could also see the Spurs having their kind of OKC couple years ago moment in the second round where like they're clearly this ultra talented team against Dallas, but like Dallas just always for some reason made the plays late in the game. Like, yeah, they had Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, they went to the finals, but like OKC was just making some miscues that they don't normally make now, like in later situations in games. I can see that possibly happen with the San Antonio Spurs this year. Like especially like the Wolves are an interesting team even without Anthony Edwards for how they're playing.
Yeah. It's a tough matchup for San Antonio for sure.
But we can pivot to Lakers, OKC, top side of the bracket. This is one I don't know anything about Luka coming back, but they do have AR, which is a plus.
It don't seem like he's going to play at all.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's going to play.
Yeah.
But you do have AR back. But even with how good of a coach I think JJ Redick is, man, they just don't have shit. Like their defense against the Rockets team that struggled to score, like looked really, really good and really connected. But Houston doesn't have the firepower or the spacing that OKC does, even without J-Dub. Like, I haven't heard any reports on him and his injury and him when he's coming back. But, dude, they have nothing for SGA. SGA is just going to get his looks whenever he wants to. They have better bigs inside defensively with Chet and Hardenstein. They have better perimeter defenders to kind of throw on Bron and being passing lanes. Like, I just think OKC kind of takes care of this Lakers team, especially with no Luka. I just think they're in a tough situation against an OKC team. I think their best chance is like maybe you split, maybe OKC comes out a little bit rusty because they've been off for so long. It seems like maybe you kind of make it close in game one and maybe Bron get his heroics, give you game one in a crazy fashion. But like, I just think they're just going to get the ball to SGA late in a game if it's close and he's just going to close the game. Like even with Bron and AR.
I think what JJ Redick's going to do is going to be similar to what he did just in this Rockets series when KD was on the floor. And he's going to be okay with going out that way. I think he's just going to double team.
With everybody else beating you.
He's probably going to have big time games if he's ramping up. I would be willing to take that bet. Probably not a very smart one because they have been better. But like, if I'm JJ Redick, I'm saying the only way to beat them is hope they shoot bad because that's something that's kind of been like a vulnerability of theirs is like consistent shooting. But, you know, if you're just throwing shameless double teams, it's going to be some pretty open looks. That's a tough one to rely on. But I can see JJ Redick just playing it like that. Like he's like, we're not going to let this just be, we're not going to let OKC just grind us out and get a good look from Shea one-on-one against Marcus Smart every possession. He's like, I'm not watching. I think he'll have some stuff schemed up. That being said, I'm gonna go Thunder in 5. Unless Luka comes back, like if he comes back, I think we can get some good games and it could be a 6 or potentially 7-game series. I mean, you never know, but I'm gonna go OKC in 5.
I'm gonna go OKC in 5 as well. Yeah. I think the Lakers can get one bad shooting night from OKC.
Yeah,
because they can be streaky. I think that's the one downfall in OKC.
Yeah, give me OKC in 5. I just think, no Luka, no timetable to return. He must have had a setback or something. The Thunder are just so supremely talented. SGA, best player in the series, probably going to win MVP. Then Marcus Smart is just not the point of attack defender that he used to be. I think that OKC can shoot themselves out of one, and it's the GOAT we're talking about. He's gonna get one, but yeah, OKC in 5.
It's just getting the tough side of the bracket with OKC in the second round. All for us, it is kind of tough. Even with no dub, I think even if you send the doubles, if one of those guys from OKC gets going, and AJ Mitchell's just been a dog for them, has a secondary shot creator as well. Without Dub, he's just been a guy that they've all right, you have the green light, go make shit happen in the offense, with just SGA's off the bench, or even when SGA's in the game and just playing off ball, he's able to they trust him with the ball in his hands. And this is just the series to kind of wrap up the episodes, where you're fuck, you look at LeBron in the mid post and it's Caruso's in the passing lane, Casey Wallace in the passing lane, he has Chet backside, Dort's on him, and you're just where's the look? You're just where's the fucking look? And he swings it to AR, and Case and Wallace close out. AR, no, where's the look? You got Caruso right there in the gap. It's just fuck.
They are going to make nutty shots.
Yeah, and then somebody gets to the lane, and then you got iHeart and Chet. It's just a tough look. But we are kind of all set for the Western Conference second round. Got our previews in, talked about some eliminations and stuff for the future. This is going to be a Western Conference edition. We'll have another episode for the Eastern Conference prediction because the Eastern Conference is just absolutely insane. But I feel like the playoffs in general have been great. But that is all we have for this episode of the Barrel Talk Podcast. Hope you tune in to future episodes.